Namo Adida Pha. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body and my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I am aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading Ajahn Munindo's book, Unexpected Freedom. Today we're finishing a chapter called No Blame with a section on right preparation. We all know what it's like to become caught up in the passions, so we do not need to wait until it happens to do something about it. Right preparation is the way to protect ourselves from our own harmful habits. By establishing in advance this kind of understanding, we're much less likely to fall into old ways. The force of habit is inhibited by mindfulness. This kind of considered restraint is not the same as a blind repression that we might fear will lead to the energies returning in a more potentized form in the future. In exercising such restraint, we create the conditions for seeing through the appearance of suffering. We develop the capacity to overcome that state of inertia which binds us into the humiliating condition of losing it time and time again. When we experience the state of fearlessness that we know as love, we are tempted to grasp at its beauty, believing that this will make it last. But with right restraint, insight arises, outshining old, painful habits, and love is purified. By comparison, when we are hurting, we tend to react by rejecting, seeking someone or something to blame. But shooting our passions out onto an external figure makes us weak and dependent. If we can stay with the energy long enough, refusing to succumb to the temptation of trying to release ourselves from it, the energy builds up until the walls which held us imprisoned and chronically limited crumble. The awareness we occupy opens up. Being restrained with informed awareness is the work of transformation. Mindful holding back is the dynamic that frees us. After consciously going through such an expansion of awareness, we know for ourselves that we are not hopeless victims of our inner fires. A transformation of the wild passions through awareness means that we feel altogether differently towards their flaring up. We find that there is a little more space for them, at least until we find ourselves limited again. They're no longer seen as enemies against which we must forever brace ourselves. From this point onwards, we can view suffering differently. The teachings that tell us that mindfulness of suffering leads to freedom from suffering becomes true in a new way. Henceforth, when pain such as disappointment arises, we have a sense that inhibiting the impulse to blame is the way itself, not torturous, endless endurance. Allowing the pressure of the passions within us to increase while staying steady and focused in an interested manner is the way to a new understanding. In other words, our suffering held with such a view becomes the key that opens the doors that have kept us feeling locked in. There's a further point we should consider, and that is how, when we taste the fruits of our practice and delight in the spaciousness of increased awareness, we are at risk of being infected by the blight of conceit. We might feel, I have transformed my anger. This is to lose ourselves again. The energy that actually liberated us out of that cramped space of a contracted heart is not the energy of our deluded personality. It's not me that did it. It is nature. It is Dharma. Laying claim to it is the habit of grasping, raising its head once more. But we can learn from this, too. We come to see more clearly how the unawakened ego continually seeks to find security by grasping. The impulse to awakening, however, only seeks the truth. There is no freedom in clinging. I hope this contemplation helps us all learn to be careful. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Namo Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.